Hi everybody, Chef Donna here. Welcome to my kitchen. And here's a continuation of our series on pie crust. We already covered how to make pie crust by hand and how to make it in the food processor. Now we're going to talk about how to roll it out. It can be really intimidating for a lot of people. It moves around, it sticks, it takes on funky shapes, it does all sorts of things. But I got a little trick that really makes it easy to roll it out into a nice shape. You've got to start with a nice pie dough. I love a butter crust in a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 cups flour to 1 cup of butter with a little salt and enough water to bring it together nicely so it's nice and moist. Works like a charm. This one has been chilling in the fridge for a little bit. I often just roll straight from mixing my crust together and it works beautifully. Okay, first I want to talk about just a couple tools. Bench scraper, if you don't have one, I suggest you get one. They're awesome for lots of stuff. And this is one of my favorite rolling pins. This is a French pin because it is tapered on either end. It's just a wooden dowel and it is designed for shaping up your dough and squaring it up in particular shapes you want to do. When you need to move a little bit of dough in a certain place, this is what you want for it. I also have just a straight dowel, and I got a whole bunch of them, but this is one of my very favorites. Okay, so if your dough is coming out of the fridge, I suggest that you leave it sit out on the counter for at least about an hour. If not, go ahead and just give it a little smack around with your pin. Turn. Helps a lot. Okay. All right, the technique that we're going to use today is rolling mostly in just one direction. Okay, so I'm going to only roll back and forth, not rolling over my edges. Then I'm going to turn it. Quarter turn. I'm going to pick up a little flour. Quarter turn. Quarter turn. Okay, and you know I was just talking about this tapered end of my pin, allowing it to shape things. Well, I've kind of got a little funky spot here, and that's because I smacked it with the pin. So I'm just going to use that to help shape me. Can you see this? Normally I don't need to do that, but I did today. Okay, just as much flour as necessary. You don't need any extra. And just back and forth. Notice my dough is flexible. It's not sticking. It's not falling apart. I'm able to pick it up and move it around. You don't want to flour the surface of your dough. Just flour your pin. We are almost there. Now is just about the time that we can start going in a couple other directions. And this is really just to, finish up our shape. Coming around, exercising that little bit of rounding with the corner. I've got a pie pan here. Okay, let's have a peek. It's about an 1/8 inch thick, give or take. See, I'm able to pick it up. It's flexible, looks great. There. All right. We got plenty of overhang. I like a little extra. I don't mind having that extra so that I can make little cinnamon swirls afterward. I just like the extra reassurance it gives me there. See, I'm able to pick it up. I don't need to transport it onto my rolling pin. I don't need to fold it in quarters. I can just pick it up nicely. The gluten is not developed. See how I can touch it, and the pie crust when I was rolling was not expanding and contracting. There we go. Okay, a little bit of a trim. I'm going to run my finger around the outside of the pie lip of the pie pan, okay? And I'm going to cut right about on that spot, about 1 inch overhang. right about where my first knuckle ends on my finger. Now I've done this about 9 bazillion times, so I know where it is. But if you're a newbie, that's a nice little guide. This doesn't need any, doesn't need, okay, I'll trim. If you're going to blind bake your pie shell, blind baking is baking with something in your pie. An empty pie, no pie filling, but you need to keep your pie shell flat, right? It likes to puff up a little bit when left by itself. It might get some air bubbles, things like that. A terrific thing to use in place of expensive, pie pearls, pie strings, pie, everything they call them, beads and whatnot, are just beans from the grocery store. Hard, dry beans like kidney beans or navy beans. Buy the cheap ones and buy several pounds, several bags of them. And I just keep them in a jar or container in the cupboard. Lay parchment down and then fill your beans and bake it. And then you pick the whole bit of parchment up when it's done, set it to the side so that they can cool, and back in the jar they go for next pie. Okay, I'm going to flute my edges a little bit here. Okay, so this being an all butter pie crust, that means it's going to be flaky, very flavorful. It's going to have a really nice mouthfeel, as opposed to like an all Crisco crust tends to have a greasy mouthfeel, and the crust will be crumbly. But what an all butter crust won't do is hold its shape as far as nice leaf cutouts and things like that. That's okay. I'd rather have that flavor any day. Alrighty, here's my pie crust all ready to go. This is going to become a quiche for dinner. For us, I've got some leftover ham, cheese, eggs, some mushrooms, things like that. All going in a quiche for supper, but you can use this for any pie, any pot pie, Wellington, hand pies, you name it. This recipe, this technique works for anything you got. So thanks for coming by today. You can check out more on chefdonnaathome.com and find me on Facebook and Instagram, Chef Donna at Home. Thanks. Bye-bye.